iPhone 5 versus iPhone 5S versus iPhone SE. In this video comparison, we're going to take the iPhone 5, put it up next to the iPhone 5S, and put that up next to the iPhone SE with the intentions to help you in this iOS 10 update process. And if you have the question, should I go ahead and jump ship to iOS 10? So if you want to say that, stay tuned. Let's go. So to begin this test, we have the iPhone 5 all the way to the left, the iPhone 5S in the middle, and it's going to be the iPhone SE all the way to the right. Just so you know, along this whole test, this is the lineup, this is the way it's gonna be. So I'm gonna go into settings and show you that on the iPhone 5, I do have iOS 10.0.1, the official Gold Master release, iOS 10.0.1 Gold Master release here on the 5S, and iOS 10.0.1 Gold Master release here on the iPhone SE as well here. So let's go home and let's get into the next thing we're going to talk about here. So I do want to go ahead and turn off the screens here, and we're going to boot these babies up to see which one gets there first. I'm going to power down the iPhone 5. Now I'm going to power down the iPhone 5S, and now I'm going to power down the iPhone SE here, and I'm going to go ahead and flick the switch. So you're going to see a little bit of a flash here. That's actually my lighting turning off while we're doing this boot up test, and it's going to show you that they are going to boot up all identically at the same time. So you're going to see that flash right there. And let's see which one shows a logo first. So we have the iPhone SE showing a logo first, then the 5S, then the 5. My guess is the SE is going to get there first, but I might go ahead and speed this up if it takes too long. However, I don't think it's going to take that long here. So let's see which one gets there first. The SE should be any time here. So it looks like we have the SE is first here. Let's go ahead and close that SIM card installed thing. I actually don't have my SIM card in there at the moment. And the 5S looks to be way behind here in terms of the boot up speed. That A9 chip is a beast on booting up there. And you could see iPhone 5S is now, come on iPhone 5S, come on, don't do this. Okay, there goes the iPhone 5S. So it took quite a while longer than the SE. And here goes the iPhone 5, not too far there behind the iPhone 5S. Alright guys, so the next thing we're going to do here is clear that Safari website cache and data. So when we go ahead and do the Safari website test, is that we don't have, people saying, oh, the cache wasn't cleared, blah, blah, blee, blue, blah, blah. Now the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to clear the RAM on all of these devices. So let me go ahead and clear the RAM here on the 5S. Let me load it up here on the 5 or the SE over there. They all look the same, to be honest with you. Now let's go into the 5, and you can see lock screen. We're going to go ahead and hold down these home buttons right here. Quick tip, this is how you clear the RAM on your iPhones as well. So we're going to clear the RAM here. So this is a pretty fresh, clean test here. So you can see no apps are open on any of them. Let's get into this application test right here. So let's start with calendar, and you guys judge for yourself to see which one's open quicker. Some are going to be obvious, some not. Calculator looked about the same in my opinion. Let's go into the camera section of each of these devices, and you can see that we're going to take pictures at the same time. Flash is off on all of them, so it should be pretty equal here. Let's go home, and let's go into the weather application on all three devices, SE, 5S, and then 5 down the line. Let's go to the clock section, and you can see SE5 and then 5S. So the 5S lost a point there to the 5. Map section right down the line, SE, 5S, and then 5. Let's go into the news application and see which one gets there first. Consumer electronics, iPhone launch day over here around these parts, probably around your parts as well, depending on what country you're in. And you can see scroll speeds about the same on each. Let's go into the HomeKit application and see which one gets there first. So it looks like they're performing pretty similarly here. Going into iBooks, let me go into the top chart second on each one of these. You can see the SE, then the 5S, and now the iPhone 5, or is it there? Let's go home here, and you can see if we go into the App Store, let's see which one opens first. So we got the App Store on the SE, bumpy cam, and then we have the App Store over there on the iPhone 5S as well as the 5. Now let's go home, and you could see the music application. Oh, I missed it there. Let me go ahead and redo that test really quickly here on both of these devices. I missed the one in the middle, which is the 5S. Let's go into the music application here, and you could see 5S is actually last there. SE was first and then the 5. Let's go into the settings application and let's scroll. You can see scrolling speed's about the same. Let's go into a sub menu here and let's go to notifications. You can see right down the line the iPhone SE and then the 5S and then the 5. Let's go into the Apple Health application and see how this performs. So scrolling speed's about the same within the Apple-based applications. Going into interacting with it, it's about the same. However, in real life, it does feel a lot smoother on the SE than it does on the 5. The 5S and 5 actually feel closer together than the SE. The SE kind of just sets itself apart, even though it looks identical to both of those devices. You can see the SE blew past them once again in YouTube. And I know it might sound biased, and maybe it is, but hey, guess what? I've used the iPhone 5S extensively, and you would know that if you watch the channel. And the SE is just a much quicker device. And the 5 is just getting pretty old now. But let's go into the Twitter application, see which one opens there quickly. You can see the SE blowing past once again the 5 and then the 5S. So I don't know what's going on with the iPhone 5S in this test. It has been slacking a little bit behind there. I don't know if it's my device, maybe it's your device, but not being very impressive there. The 5 is actually pretty close to the 5S in this test so far. You can see right down the line though, in that test was the SE, the 5S, and then the 5. Going into eBay, you can see here, once again, similar results right down the line, the SE, the 5S, and we're still waiting on the iPhone 5. So iPhone 5 a bit slow here. Alright guys, let's get into this Safari test of each one of these devices. For this example, I'm going to go to theverge.com. Reason being is it's one of the heaviest websites for technology on the internet for loading up a bunch of ads and all kinds of stuff. And you might even see an ad here when we go ahead and load up this site, as it's pretty ad friendly. If you like your ads, go to theverge.com. But you could see right here, over here on this test, I am missing my types a little bit, but let's go ahead and go to go really quickly at the same time in 3, 2, 1, see which one gets there. iPhone SE, iPhone 5S, not too far behind. SE did a little reload there, but actually still quicker than the 5S, and the 5 quite a bit behind, although it's still a very functional and usable website browsing phone. I wouldn't say it's no dinosaur. It's not that bad. It's actually pretty solid here, and you could get by with the iPhone 5 in terms of your internet browsing. In terms of scroll speeds, once things get loaded up, Safari is silky smooth on all of them. However, it does perform quite a bit better here on the 2 latter phones, or the newer phones in this test. Let's go to reader mode. You can see you could still enjoy the experience even on these older devices. Alright, what about that phone application? So on the SE, it did load quickest, then the 5, then the 5S. So the 5S has been acting a little bit wonky, but you could see going through, this is a very great phone experience, very quick, not really a big issue there in terms of your phone and dialing. Let's go into, let's see, the multitasking and show you that everything is still open, all those applications that we opened from the first app speed test. And now I kind of just want to quickly run right back through them to see how they're holding up, if they're still staying in cache. And you can see calendar stayed there quite well. What about calculator? Pretty much the same. What about cameras? Pretty much the same, but it looks like the SE is still winning in this test here. About the same on SE and 5S there. Let's go to the clock. Let me do that one more time. It looks like I missed that one really quickly. Clock on both of them, you could see all about the same time there on the Apple-based applications. Let's go to the map, and you could see that the iPhone 5 had to reload there. What about the news application? You could see very similar there. And in terms of the HomeKit application, same there. So these Apple-based apps on the SE and the 5S seem to perform very similarly. The iPhone 5 being a bit behind. You can see the iPhone 5 has to reload quite a bit of things here, although it was pretty solid there on the music. In terms of settings, it even had the reload settings, so that was a really weird there for the iPhone 5. So the 5 is definitely behind here on iOS 10, behind the 5S and the SE, although it's not, like I say, it's not an unusable phone. It's nowhere near as crappy and laggy as the iPhone 4S was when they went ahead and got rid of iOS 6 on that device. So you could still use iOS 10 on the iPhone 5. I just would say it's slightly slower than these newer devices rocking out on this latest and greatest iOS 10 operating system. All right, let's take a look at the general user elements between these devices. So you can see on the surveyed view, they all perform pretty similarly. Now, in reality, in person, I did notice the iPhone 5 was just a bit choppier than the iPhone 5S and SE, as well as the 5S being a slightly choppier than the SE. Now, I know it seems like that might be common sense, but this is really hard to see. So if you're not a person with an eye for detail, you probably wouldn't even see this in reality. So I would say the average consumer is not going to see no choppiness in terms of it's just control center, scrolling through it, going through the app tray, just going through everything throughout the general user interface. It's going to be a pretty buttery smooth affair on each of one of these devices. Now let's see how the multitasking is on these devices. So those applications from earlier are still open. Now before we went into the apps from the grid of icons, but here we're going into the multitasking tray to see how they're holding up there if you want to multitask. So you can see things are opening pretty solid on all of them. Safari didn't have to reopen. Well, actually it did have a little glitch there on the iPhone 5. So let's go into another application here. What about YouTube? Let's see how YouTube performs here. Let me get them all lined up here, and you can see YouTube open there. So I'm not going to go through each one of these applications. It would take all day to do that, but you can see just scrolling out of them, pretty buttery smooth, and it looks about the same in terms of just swiping them away. You're not going to see any stutter here on swiping them away here for your iPhones on any of these guys. So now let's get into the gaming section of this comparison video. Let's go into Subway Surfers and see which one loads up first. So the SE is off to the races. Looks like it's loading up very quickly there. Followed right behind it is the iPhone 5S, and the iPhone 5S just whooped the iPhone 5 in the gaming portion right here. As you can see, it loaded Subway Surfers, and now we're waiting on Subway Surfers for the iPhone 5. So the iPhone 5 is quite a bit behind in terms of its GPU performance, its gaming processing unit. So in terms of that aspect, gaming is going to be much better on the newer iPhones as you go up to the newer models. So let's go into Jetpack Joyride and see how this baby loads up. So the iPhone SE once again first, now the iPhone 5S, and we're waiting. You can see SE we're already playing. We're playing on the iPhone 5S and now the iPhone 5. So these lower task games even perform better on the newer iPhones, but they still perform pretty good on all of them for these less intensively resource intensive games. Perform well on all of these iPhones, but I would say still the best experience is the newer iPhone, of course. So let's go into the Tempo Run, and you can see Tempo Run once again there, slightly quicker, only slightly quicker on the SE than the 5S, and then the 5S was slightly quicker than the 5. But overall, like I say, these less resource intensive games are not going to be a problem for any of these iPhones, to be honest with you, in the real world. Now let's get into something more, resource intensive. So Modern Combat 5, shout out to the Modern Combat 5 fans out there. This is a great little mobile game if you're into this type of action shooting, first person type of, action in your gaming experience. But you can see the SE is ready to go. And now the 5S should be slightly behind with the iPhone 5 delayed there. I don't know what's going on there with the iPhone 5. It's just taking quite a bit of time. So you can see that the frame rates are pretty solid here, very, very strong here on the SE. Frame rates also very good here on the iPhone 5S, just not super amazing. They're just very good there on the 5S. And the 5, I don't know what happened to the iPhone 5. It's just showing that it doesn't want to load this MC5 right now. But this just might be an error on my part. I'm not sure. But let me see if I can get this baby loaded up. So I did get it loaded up here on the iPhone 5, and you can see that it does perform pretty solid once you're in. Graphics don't look quite as good as they do on the newer devices, but it's still pretty fun nonetheless. Now let's check how these babies holded the games in the background, or if they even held them in the background. So I'm going to load these guys up all at the same time if possible. Let's go into the Subway Surfers. You can see first on the SE, then the 5S, and now the 5 is a little bit lagging again. I don't know what is going on there with that iPhone 5. It might just be my model, I don't know, but it's having a little bit of issues here in gaming. Modern Combat 5 did load pretty solid on all of them, about the same time here. Let's go out of here, but still straight down the line. Let's go here into the Temple Run here. Let's see which one opens. About the same on each one of them. Actually, it looked like the 5 was first there, ironically. After just saying it was lagging, it did pull ahead there in the Temple Run aspect. Now let's go into Jetpack Joyride and let's see. Look like iPhone 5 won that one. That is very strange that the iPhone 5 just made a comeback in terms of its multitasking. Alright guys, let's do a speed test on each one of these devices. As you can see, I'm going to skip through this test once I begin them, as it would take quite a while to watch each one of these. So I'm just going to speed through these guys. And it looks like we got about 18.47 down on the iPhone 5 with 12.10 megabytes on the upload. On the iPhone 5S, we got a little bit slower speeds at 17.80 on the down and 11.99 on the upload. Now on the iPhone SE, we got a score of 16.54 megabytes down and 12.03 up. So pretty solid scores on each one of them, but pretty similar nonetheless. So let's go into the Antutu benchmark, and I'm just kind of going to show you the scores. I'm going to run each one of these tests. We're not going to watch the test, but we're just going to show you that we are going to run this on each one of these. I'm going to start it here on the SE, and then I'm going to go through the rest of them. So I got a score of 100 and it looked like 30,000 here, 57,000 here on the iPhone 5S. So right in the middle is the iPhone 5S, 30,839 on the iPhone 5, and wow, the iPhone SE 100,000 points more than the iPhone 5. So pretty strong there performance on the iPhone SE. Now what I'm going to do is run a Sunspider Java Webkit script. Basically this shows you the performance of the web browser. So we got 1027 milliseconds on the 5, 475.8 milliseconds on the 5S, and about 228 milliseconds on the iPhone SE, showing that the iPhone SE is a blazing fast internet browser, as well as the 5S being only slightly behind, but the 5 being the slowest web browser of the bunch. So that's pretty much going to wrap this video up of the iPhone SE versus the iPhone 5S versus the iPhone 5, or you could say it whatever way you want. This was all done on iOS 10 with the intentions on helping you to decide if you want to upgrade to this latest and greatest operating system on any one of these devices, or if you were thinking about going to trade one of these devices for one or the other, then this might have helped you there as well. The SE performs really great, the iPhone 5S performs good, and the iPhone 5 performs okay. That's my assessment of these. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Have a great day wherever you are. Be sure to be well, and peace.
No.